Afternoon, everybody. BAM weather meteorologist Brett Waltz here. We'll let some folks filter in. We have a lot about heavy rain, potential severe weather as we work into this afternoon, into this evening, and then I want to keep an eye on some strong wind gusts potentially tomorrow as kind of the backside of the remnants of Tropical Storm and Hurricane Beryl begin to push east through our area and exit off to the east as well. So again, we'll give some folks a little bit of time to filter in here. Be sure to like the stream, share the stream, tag a friend, and let them know of the weather that's going to be incoming here across the Ohio Valley as we work over the next 24 hours or so. Again, main severe weather threat will really ramp up as we work into this afternoon and into this evening. And as we go throughout this live stream, we'll chat about the areas that I think are most at risk for the severe weather threat. So I'm going to just check out the live stream chat here, just make sure everything is going okay. Appreciate that, Pamela. She said, I already liked it. Hello. Appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Let me take a look at Facebook here to make sure that that is going okay. Looks like we have some people filtering in here. Again, guys, it's been actually a little bit of time since we've been on here with a severe weather threat, probably late May, Memorial Day, when we had that cluster that moved through here. So this is the first one in a while. It's not super often, especially this early in the season, that we get a severe weather threat related to a tropical cyclone. So maybe a little bit of a rarer occurrence. It's happened before, but it doesn't happen all that often. So, okay, guys, I'm going to switch over my screen here, and I'm going to pull up the current radar right now. So this is our Clarity Weather platform. I know many of you subscribe and have the app and are probably getting some of the updates that our team has been sending out here over the past hour or two with some updates. I know our meteorologist John Kemper actually working on some right now. Taking a look, guys, a couple of things that I want to know. Number one, look at where all the rain is. The core of the rain right now, really from St. Louis to Springfield, Illinois, and then along and north of the I-70 corridor. That's important because I think it's the areas that have cleared out a little bit more, or at least aren't getting rain right now, are going to be the areas that have the higher threat for severe weather as we work into this afternoon and into this evening. And so specifically south of I-70. And I think the further south you go towards the southern Indiana border, that's going to be the area that has the highest potential for severe weather as we work into this afternoon and into this evening. Now, if you saw the post that we put out earlier today, I want to make this note right off the bat. Historically speaking, in terms of tropical cyclones, they don't normally produce strong tornadoes. EF3, EF4, EF5 tornadoes in this type of setup are incredibly rare. But what you can get are weaker, shorter-lived tornadoes, or spin-ups as we call them, that can produce some damage as they move through. Yesterday was actually the most tornado warnings ever issued with a tropical cyclone in the United States history across parts of Louisiana. And so certainly this storm system does have a history of producing tornadic storms. And I think that these areas that are clearing out right now across northern Kentucky and southern Indiana going to be the spot that we have to watch out for that as we work over the next several hours. And so we'll turn the radar on here, guys. You can see some of these storms beginning to kind of fire up down to our south across northern Tennessee and southern Kentucky. These storms will continue to push further off to the north and to the east as we work into the afternoon and into the evening. If we pull up our future simulated radar, this is by about 2:30, 3 p.m. And as we work towards about 3:30 and 4, you can see that more of these discrete cells kind of popping up and intensifying across northern portions of Kentucky. I do think that with these storms, as they develop, in the middle of this afternoon, there is the risk for a couple of spin-ups in here. And also I want to mention the wind threat. I do think that these storms will be capable of producing some strong wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour as well as these move through. As we continue to kind of work through the rest of the evening hours, this is by about 5, 6 p.m., this threat beginning to come a little bit further to the north. I would say especially Bloomington, Columbus, and points down to the south. That's where your main severe weather threat is going to be at this time. And what you're going to notice is we're not going to see one defined line of storms. You're going to have sporadic activity all throughout the evening. And so it's not a situation where you've got a line of storms and then you're done. we're going to continue to see these storms kind of move through as we go throughout the evening. Maybe the biggest line developing as we work into late evening, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. You can kind of see it here working through from Terre Haute to Bloomington to Louisville. Again, I still think your biggest tornado threat, that spin up threat, Bloomington and points down to the south. So Bloomington, Columbus, North Vernon, New Albany, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky. Those are kind of the areas that I would be watching out for. Maybe a couple of tornado warnings as we go throughout this afternoon and this evening. And then again, especially as we work further down to the south into northern Kentucky. Now, it doesn't mean that along the I-70 corridor that you're completely out of the woods. I do think that with some of these storms that move through, and again, especially maybe this wave late this evening, 10, 11 o'clock, I do think that there's the potential that these storms could be strong to severe in terms of wind. I think wind may be the bigger threat here if you're kind of along the I-70 corridor. Now, I'm not talking about 70, 80, 90 mile an hour winds. I don't think that these storms are capable of that. There's just not enough instability. But there's a lot of wind energy because this is the remnant of what was a hurricane. And so some strong wind gusts along the I-70 corridor will be possible as these storms move through. Let me kind of zoom in to give you all a look. Then by about midnight, this main activity kind of pushing off to the east. And I think the severe threat will really start to wind down after midnight. Now, in terms of our severe weather threat here, guys, here's a look at the map that we made. The orange areas are where wind and a weak tornado threat from 5 p.m. to especially 11 p.m. is going to be the most common. The yellow areas have primarily a wind threat, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds possible as storms move through in that same time frame. The green areas, I think severe weather will be more isolated. And so, I think that if you're in Lafayette, if you're in Fort Wayne, if you're along and north of Indianapolis, you can have a stronger storm, maybe an isolated severe storm, but it's not nearly going to be as widespread. Again, I don't think this is a situation where we're dealing with destructive tornadoes, destructive wind, but some severe weather possible, especially the further south that you go as we work into this afternoon and into this evening. And guys, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to kind of answer some of those as we go towards the end of this. And again, I appreciate all of you for watching, for commenting, and tagging folks. Thanks, Cody. I see you tagged a couple of people there. Hi, Travis. Hey, Debbie. Stormy, I appreciate all of you for tuning in here. Be sure to like, be sure to share the stream. Happy to help out as many people as we can. If you so will, you can scan the QR code and sign up for our Clarity platform where all these updates are going, and we'll continue to be updating throughout the rest of the afternoon and the evening. Direct commentary from our team of meteorologists. Now, I do want to talk about the rainfall a little bit as well. Now, you actually see this pop up. There's our first tornado warning across southwestern portions of Kentucky. Let me go back to the radar here for a second. There's the first tornado warning. And so you can see these aren't necessarily super impressive looking storms. It's not your typical supercells, but you can see little kind of C shape here, comma shape here, indicating there is some rotation in this. And that will likely be what we see across the southern half of Indiana as we work further on into this evening. So these small little cells are capable of rotating. Now, in terms of rain here, guys, it's going to be across the northern portion of the state that sees the heaviest rain. This is additional rainfall from this point forward. Northern Indiana, 2 to 4 inches of rain, I think, very much on the table here. Maybe even some locally higher totals up near South Bend. We click around further down to the south, you're probably going to be more like 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches along the I-70 corridor and points down to the south. If you get under one of those more severe storms, you can kind of see the data trying to hint at that across southern Indiana and northern Kentucky. That's where you could get some locally higher totals of up to perhaps 2 inches. I also want to talk about wind because the threat does not necessarily end as we work into this afternoon and into this evening. I think that there are going to be wind threats as we work into tonight and into tomorrow. So this is our 3-hour max wind gust that's available to our pro subscribers on the Clarity platform. What I want to note, especially as we work into tomorrow morning, we start to pick up some of these wind gusts across eastern Illinois and western Indiana of 40 to 50 miles an hour. As we continue to kind of go throughout the rest of tomorrow morning, this will likely amplify and start to come further off to the east. I think the potential for locally 50 to 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, I think that'll be very isolated, but it's not off the table as we work into tomorrow morning. So this is 7 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning. This will sweep across the area as we work into the noon to early afternoon hours, but some strong wind gusts, widespread 40 to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, especially along I-70 points off to the north possible as we work into the first half of tomorrow. I think something we do need to keep an eye on as well is if there is any clearing with northern Indiana tomorrow, there is the potential that we could mix some locally stronger winds down to the surface of 60 plus miles an hour. And so that will be something that I think we need to, at the very least, keep an eye on. I personally think I'm surprised that there has not been any wind advisories that have been issued. I think that wind advisories need to be issued really for anywhere along and north of Bloomington tomorrow. I think some gusts, certainly of 40 to 50 miles per hour possible. Here's a look at the map that one of our meteorologists, Will Danby, made. Let me see if I can zoom this out. There you go. So you can see the wind speeds a little bit better. If you're in the green area, risk of wind gusts from 12 a.m. tonight to the end of the day tomorrow from west to east of 30 to 40 miles per hour. If you're in that lighter shade of blue, 40 to 50 miles per hour possible. And then if you're in Champaign, Indy, Lafayette, Fort Wayne, South Bend, I think locally 50 plus mile per hour wind gusts as we go, especially through the morning and the early afternoon hours tomorrow, going to be possible. Again, I think there needs to be wind advisories in effect. Given the wind energy associated with the storm, I'm surprised that they have not been issued yet. I think that there need to be widespread wind advisories in effect across Indiana, Eastern Illinois, and western parts of Ohio. So, guys, that's kind of the picture that we're looking at here over the next 24 hours or so. Happy to kind of take a couple of questions in here, and I'll go back to our simulated radar so you all can get a picture of what we're looking at here as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. Again, this is our Clarity platform. Our team going to be putting out what we call nowcast updates throughout the afternoon and evening as storms begin to develop to let folks know exactly when any impending impactful severe weather is going to reach their area. So a cool tool that we have, we can kind of communicate with anybody that subscribes at any time, pushing out our commentary, our analysis at all times to folks on our Clarity platform. So what does the hail threat look like? I don't think the hail threat is big. Typically in these types of setups with tropical cyclones, it's just too warm aloft in the atmosphere to produce hail. And so I don't see hail as really a big threat with any of these storms this afternoon. Martinsville tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, I think that you're going to just be dealing with the wind gusts. Somebody asking about tomorrow. I don't think tomorrow is a washout by any means. In fact, if I turn on our simulated radar here, let me go down to a different parameter. Most of this activity will work out as we work through tomorrow morning. Some spotty showers possible tomorrow, but really, I think especially after the morning hours, and especially if you're south of I-70, most of the day tomorrow is going to be dry. Tomorrow is not a washout by any means. If you're in northern Indiana, that's where things are maybe a little bit more steady with some of the light rain and the sprinkle threats throughout the day. And so tomorrow, I do not think that we're dealing with a washout along I-70 and points down to the south. Martinsville, certainly, I think, other than some scattered pop-up showers and storms, I think going to be pretty clear tomorrow afternoon. Let's see. Callahan, no, I don't see a major tornado threat. Again, not dealing with any kind of strong tornadoes here with this system, but I do think the southern third of Indiana, some spin-ups possible, maybe several, as we work into this afternoon and into this evening. Along the I-70 corridor, wind going to be the bigger threat. I'm a little late. How does Bloomington's forecast look? Not ready for another 24-hour power outage. I don't see that, Abigail, as being a huge concern. I think that with this particular setup, if I go back to our Clarity radar here, Bloomington, yeah, a couple of spin-ups, I think not out of the question in the area. Whether it's right over Bloomington, there's no way to know that for sure. I think that some of these cells late in the evening could potentially have 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts with it, but I don't see it as a repeat of what you all dealt with a couple of weeks ago. There's not enough instability in the atmosphere, I think, to kind of support that. So let me Let me continue to go through some of these questions here. I appreciate all of you all for tuning in and liking and sharing. Can we see the worst for New Albany, Indiana? Yeah, I'll pull the radar back up here in a moment. New Albany, I would say anytime from 5 to 11 p.m. That's going to be the time frame where a couple of spin-ups will be possible in the area, as well as a couple of strong storms with some stronger wind gusts possible. So, and I will pull up give me 1 second. I'm going to go through a couple more of these comments, and I'll pull up the severe weather threat map as well, so you all can kind of reference where exactly that you're at. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. Will there be a lot of lightning? Overall, no, I don't really think that this will produce a ton of lightning. There will be some, but there's not a lot of instability. It's really more of a wind-driven system, and so not really going to be dealing with a ton of lightning with these. Greenwood is south of I-70. Thanks, Haley. Let's see here. All right. I will pull the map back up here. This is our severe weather map. So just simply put, I would kind of try to pick out your place on the map here. If you are in orange, so that's going to include Evansville to Louisville, Elizabethtown. It's going to include North Vernon, Madison, Indiana. That is where the highest threat is going to be for some spin-ups. Probably some tornado warnings as we work between 5 and 11 p.m. today. If you're in the yellow area, that's going to include areas like Bloomington, Columbus, Greenwood, Whiteland. I think that the higher threat is going to be wind. Bloomington, you're kind of right on that line between the wind and the spin-up / weak tornado threat. But I think that if you're generally in the yellow area, you're looking at a bigger threat for wind compared to tornadoes. If you're in the green area, I think the severe weather threat in general is going to be isolated. Your bigger threat are some gusty storms of maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour as we work through this afternoon and through this evening. So, and I'm going to throw this one up. Pamela, I appreciate that. Yes, be sure to like the video, share the video, head over to bamwx.com. If you're making business decisions, we've had a lot of folks throughout the day reaching out to us about, hey, is there going to be any dry time? Am I going to be able to pour any concrete today or get outside today and get work done? Those are the types of questions that we interact with clients all throughout the day. Our team's been busy today helping people out. It's one of the favorite things that I think that we do here at BAM Weather, just being able to talk to people throughout the day and helping them make important decisions to obviously run their business, but to keep people safe as well. That's kind of the bottom line. All right. Thank you, Catherine. I certainly appreciate that. Let's see. I thought I'd gotten away from tropical weather after all these years. Yeah, it's been a while. It has been a while since I feel like that we've had one of these systems that have moved right through our area. Was more common in years like 2005. That was one of the most active hurricane seasons on record. I would not be shocked if this isn't the last one this year. Just based off what the Atlantic Ocean looks like right now, some record warm oceanic temperatures, kind of where these systems typically develop. I think it's going to be a pretty active tropical season down there across the Gulf of Mexico. Thank you, Blake. Certainly appreciate that. Should we keep kids home from sports night due to the isolated pop-ups? It depends on where exactly you are. If you're concerned about rain in general, you're likely going to be dealing with rain. There's not really a whole lot of way around that. There's going to be some gaps, but certainly rain and storms in the area throughout the day tonight. Whoops. Didn't mean to throw that one up, but yeah, be nice. I didn't even see the comment. All right, so I'm going to throw the radar back up here. I'll take a couple more questions and then I'll hop off. Of course, if we see tornado warnings being issued, if we see a lot of severe weather across the state, probably even into northern Kentucky for our friends down in Louisville, we'll hop back on and do another live stream. Here's the threat map. Again, yellow, primarily a wind threat, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds in the strongest storms possible. They are going to be hit or miss in nature. Not everybody's going to see that. The orange areas are where that tornado threat is likely going to be. So, all right, guys, I appreciate all of your time. Again, let me go back here. This is our Clarity platform, our Clarity radar here. And you can see here's the simulated radar. It's pretty hit or miss as we go throughout the afternoon and go throughout the evening. And then you have maybe a more defined line of storms, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. that'll bring the wind threat here kind of along I-70. So here's one last look at rainfall totals. Heaviest rain, kind of this 2 to 4 inch swath from Springfield to South Bend to Lafayette and up into southern parts of Michigan. So guys, thanks again for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Be sure to like and share this, tag a friend. We'll hop back on if needed as storms begin to develop later this afternoon.